Are you on the road to 100% permanent and total disability through the Department of Veterans Affairs? Well, if you are, listen up. I got 3 big disabilities that will take you from 0 to 93% actual. Let's get it. How's it going? And welcome back to Drop Ramp Intel, where I'm passing out information regarding the VA disability claims process. And for today, I have a big one. It's the big 3. Okay? These 3 disabilities I'm about to go over will take you from 0 the hero to 93% actual. Let's get into it. So, if you guys don't have any service-connected disabilities or you're currently working on your claim, here are 3 that you need to be on the lookout for to boost those numbers. Remember, we're all about getting points on the board here, but for this one, you're going to be swinging for the fences. The first one is anything regarding your mental health. It can be depression, anxiety, PTSD, adjustment disorder, whatever you want to call it, just something regarding your mental health. Usually, mental health makes up a gigantic portion of people's claims, ranging from anywhere to 50% to 70% of their total overall rating in one fell swoop. With that being said, the higher you can get a mental health claim, the higher you're going to be sitting for any other smaller disabilities that get thrown into it. So, if you guys have ever been seen on active duty for some sort of mental health regarding combat, non-combat, whatever it is, and you've spoken to a mental health professional, probably a psychologist, or if y'all were prescribed medications while on service, you probably spoke to a psychiatrist. Well, that stuff is going to be in your medical records, and you need to secure that if you want to secure the bag. If you're looking at getting service connected for mental health, you could potentially be looking up to 70%. There are some who do rate 100% solely off one claim, but that is only in very rare instances. When y'all are utilizing the 38 CFR, like I have mentioned before, using Control F and you type in anxiety, this will give you the schedule rating for that specific mental health. You're going to be rated at 1 of 6 ratings per any mental health, okay? You have a 100% rating, you have a 70%, you have a 50%, you have a 30, you have a 10, and you have a 0. I don't understand why there's a 0% for any sort of mental health disorder. However, it's there, and some veterans do receive a rating for that. The most commonly given out ratings for mental health are going to be at that 70 to 50% range, and I'm going to read it verbatim so y'all can have an understanding of what signs and symptoms they're looking for when it comes to a CMP exam. So, for a 70% rating, verbatim from 38 CFR, which I'm about to read, it says occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas such as work, school, family relations, judgment, thinking, or mood, due to such symptoms as suicidal ideation, obsessive rituals which interfere with the routine activities, speech intermittently illogical, obscure, or irrelevant, near continuous panic or depression affecting the ability to function independently, appropriately, and effectively, impaired impulse control such as unprovoked irritability with periods of violence, spatial disorientation, neglect of personal appearance and hygiene, difficult adapting to stressful circumstances, including work or a work-like setting, inability to establish and maintain effective relationships. That is what the 70% rating looks like. Now, I'm going to read the next one down, and that brings us to what the 50% rating is going to look like. Occupational and social impairment with reduced reliability and productivity due to the such symptoms as a flattened effect, circumstantial, I don't even know what that word is, or stereotype speech, panic attacks more than once a week, difficulty in understanding complex commands, impairment of short or long-term memory, for example, retention of only highly learned material and forgetting the complete task, impaired judgment, impaired abstract thinking, disturbances of motivation and mood, difficulty establishing and maintaining effective work and social relationships. That'll give you the 50% rating, okay? So, with the big three, you're realistically looking at a 70% rating to make this work for mental health. Now, I'm going to move on to the next one. Some sort of migraines, okay? It doesn't matter what they are. Headaches, migraines, call it what you want. But the unique thing about a migraines claim is that they are subjective in nature and not objective. There are two types of medical documentation when it comes to a claim. There is objective medical evidence, which is something you can physically touch and read, and it can be observed on the patient. And then there is subjective medical evidence, such as things people cannot observe on the patient. Example is tinnitus. You cannot hear the ringing, or typically you cannot hear the ringing, the buzzing, the cracking, whatever sound it is in someone else's ears and or head. Well, the same principle gets applied to migraines. Migraines are subjective by nature, but it works best to file a claim for them when you do have objective medical evidence covering them. So, for migraines, I'm going to go into what percentage you would need from those, and what percentages can be given to them, and what percentages can be given to a migraines claim. 38 CFR has 4 schedule of ratings for migraines and or headache variants, and they go as follows. So migraine, with very frequent, completely prostrating and prolonged attacks productive of severe economic inadaptability. That gives you a 50%, and then it continues on. With characteristics, prostrating attacks occurring on average once a month over the last several months. That's going to yield a 30% rating. And then with characteristics, prostrating attacks averaging 1 and 2 months over the last several months. That is going to give you a 10% rating. And then with less frequent attacks, well, if you're filing a claim for migraines and you have less frequent attacks, you're going to get a 0% rating. Don't do that to yourself, but if you get service connected at 0%, there's worse things in the world. At least it can be worked on. If you are service connected at 0% for migraines, you have a chance over time, if the disability worsens, to pursue a higher level of compensation for that said claim. And you'll probably be approved as long as you're continuing treatment. Now you have a 70% mental health rating. It doesn't matter what it is, like I said before, PTSD, anxiety, depression, whatever you want to call it, okay? And you add a 50% migraines on top of that, you are sitting at 85% real percentage, but you are being paid out at the 90% rate with 2 claims. With 2 claims, that's it. That's fantastic. However, this is what I like to call the worst 90% you could be in. Because the VA only pays in full 10% increments, your claim at 85% is actually getting rounded up. You still have a long way to go to 100% if you're filing small claims, like a 10% for tinnitus, a 10% for your knee, a 10% for your foot. It's going to take quite a few of those to get into the 100% range. And to be rated at 100%, you need a real rating of 95% or more, and then it will be rounded up. Now, like I said, you had a 70% PTSD, you have a 50% migraines, you're sitting at 85% actual and getting paid out at the 90% rate. Let's go ahead and throw one more 50% on there. And guess what it is? Anybody? I don't hear you. Oh, that's right. because they're sleeping with their CPAP and they're throwing it off the bed. That's right. You heard me. A CPAP. Sleep apnea is going to be a 50% rating if you are prescribed a continuous positive airway pressure machine that helps you breathe at night when you're sleeping. So, if you're going to add a 50% rating for sleep apnea, and this one is completely objective medical evidence, right? You need to have the machine, it needs to be documented, and more than likely, you had sleep apnea in service. That's how you're going to get it connected. That is going to bring you to a total of 93% actual. With 3 claims, 93%. A 70% for mental health, a 50% for subjective migraines, and a 50%. With 3 claims, you're sitting at 93% actual, which is rounded down to 90% scheduler, and that's what you're getting paid at. That's still pretty darn good if you ask me, because now most of the legwork is done. You're pretty high up there. You only need 2 more claims at 10% each, and you will be sitting at 95, rounded up to 100. Well, thanks for tuning in to Drop Ramp Intel. I hope this information helped y'all out, and if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments section below. I'd appreciate it if you guys leave a like and a subscribe. It'll help the channel grow. And for now, ramp up, Redcon 1, we rolling out.